I received the message 2 weeks after I escaped the hiring situation at Ogland Bridge. Inscribed in the enchanted journal I kept to talk through the other, to creatures and others gifted, like me. Canopy has taken over our town, I read. He's willing to return our research and our town to us, it continued. He just wants one thing in return. You. I have a plan. Come to Ogland Bridge. I can save both you and my town. Please. It was time to face the company, to retake Ogland Bridge and return it to the people who lived there, to those who needed it the most. It was probably a trap. It was probably crawling with company agents. It was probably a stronghold, enchanted and cursed by the company. That hadn't ever stopped me before. It was time to come back. But not alone. Certainly not alone. It was time to call up some old friends. There's a company that's been there since the first spirits rose from the dead. There, when the first monsters rose to terrorize the weak. There, when the first alchemists developed the art of enchanting. They called themselves the Company, and the band of brothers travelled the world, hunting down those who terrorized the weak and storing cursed artifacts away. Their network of warehouses, agents, and outposts expanded as the centuries passed. Kings, queens, emperors, and presidents all found themselves working with the Company. In the old days, nobles sponsored them. Now, senators and congressmen. They've kept the world safe for thousands of years. Their methods of recovering artifacts and punishing the wrong hands have been carefully developed. They fight the black market, swearing an oath to lock all the bizarre away. Too bad, it was all a lie. Everyone, I began, gesturing to the little round table we were gathered. Meet each other. I had assembled a crew I could trust, people I'd fought with and lived with. I first gestured to the strange short man in all red. I'm Thylum, he introduced. He clasped his hands, and his little cake shifted into the shape of a horse. Shape magician. I gestured to a rather average-looking man with neatly cut hair. I'm Matataga, he explained. There was a small sense of surprisement in the air. My family, historically, were monster hunters. I do more artifact smuggling and mercenary work nowadays. Thylum swore. That's just as bad as a company, he hissed. The artifacts you dabble in, your buyers want the deadliest. Ones that should be destroyed. I raised my hand. Calm it, friends, I ordered. I worked with Matt, same team, the House of Loreno. I paused. We left the more dangerous ones to the company. We only dabbled in the mostly harmless. Thylum made a scoffing noise. Fine, fair enough. I gestured to the rather older, yet ever young-looking woman beside me. My name is... Matt cut in. Adeska Knoke. He was especially surprised, even backing away slightly. I thought my father killed you 20 years ago. She stared at him. Ades Cano, she finished. Your father mistook me for the actual menace terrorizing that place. I had to fix the problem myself. She rolled her eyes. Thylum nodded along, taking notes. And what do you do? What's your thing? The witch, Ades, nodded with him, subconsciously. Attunement magic. Pure reach into the ever beyond. She demonstrated, pulled down a long green sleeve, revealing an arm, one covered in strange lines that seemed to dance and move in the light. I brought out my enchanted notebook. I trust you all to know why we are gathered here today. Everyone except Thylum shook their heads. Of course he hadn't read my message. Not all of it. Always forgetting something, that one. A friend of mine's town is being occupied by the company. I revealed a map, drawn from brief memory. That's going to be heavily defended, Thylum pointed out. But hey, we took out the company outpost. This'll be more of the same. Matt tilted his head. Really? I rolled my eyes and gave an annoyed stare at Thylum. It was deserted and was being scheduled for destruction. Ades turned the map, light flowing through it. I sense that this place is of great power. A great godlike being lies in wait. Ades paused, thinking and pinpointing the aura. The dragon of the forever storm. I nodded. So it was still there, being kept, captured no doubt. Back to my point. I focused my attention back on the poorly drawn map. I retold my brief adventure in Ogland Gate, the freak ice storm, the frozen swamp, the Harpies and the Alcyon, the great sky harpy that emerged from hibernation, looking for a lost child. I told the small betrayal me and Theo had faced. Max had called the company, and they had intervened just as it was all coming to a resolution. Peaceful, for once. Thylum frowned, disappointed. Always an enemy of the company. I'm in. Let's take them down. Adis murmured something to herself. This is clearly a trap, she noted. We would need more people to win this fight. I shook my head. We don't need to win this fight, I retorted. We merely need to retrieve Theo and free the Alcyon. I laid out the psychic note I had been sent. I will spring the trap, and whilst they busy themselves with me, Matt finished my words. We can stick it to them. He smiled. I got sticky charges and unscrollers somewhere. I nodded in agreement. Busy with me, my team could infiltrate the town, place charges, and cause enough damage to confuse them, hopefully enough to let the people of the town fight with us. Or we could free the Alcyon and let it wreak its havoc. I too, Adis added. I'm in agreement. Then it is set, I decided. We will cause what chaos we can, free the dragon, and the people of Ogland Bridge. And I raised my glass of coffee, and we held a toast. For today, it was time for me to stop running, and to fight for what I believed in. Matt had one last point I had not addressed. And our escape? It will be crawling with them. I had procured an item in case of eventualities. Here, I drew out a Ziploc bag with 4 seeds, round and red. Yago fruit seeds. They marvelled and oohed and awed. The fruit of the Yago was rare. We bite down on the seed, and it takes us to the place from where it was born. In this case, a garden my friend owns. Adis inspected the seed. Who grows this? I smiled. I'm afraid they're a rather shy individual. If we need to vanish away, perhaps you will meet them. They nodded. Then, Thylum began. It's all set. Until there came a voice from the table beside us. Wrong, actually. A young man with strange eyes, purple and iridescent. Your plan is a suicide pact, Yago seeds or not. If you want to defeat the company, you... He stepped forth and joined us. Must follow me. Matt slipped out a gun and pointed it at him, so that only those at the table could see. Who the hell are you? He noted his strange eyes. You're the Watcher, the purple-eyed man of legend. Adis concluded his words. Quint Mognis. In the greater other-natural world, he was famously known for showing up and simply knowing and warning of things to come. Some presented him as an omen. Some presented him as a force of good, trying to warn us, yet oddly, never acting. Some evil, witnessing him cast down and crush people and things to ash. I raised myself from the table. What do you know of us? I asked. I had never seen him before, only heard tales and legends. What grudge do you have against the company? The strange-eyed man nodded metronomically. I know all that has transpired, he sang, voice sweet as the fruit of the Yago tree. Witness. And then he looked into my eyes, and into my mind. Then I realised I had seen him 1,000 times over, hidden in shapes and forms I had not noticed. A hotel attendant I'd spoken to, a taxi driver on the way to Anthem City, even the illusionary form of an old man, before I found myself on a blessed ferry. This effect was clearly not limited to me. The others around me held hands to their heads, confused and petrified. Adie slammed her hands onto the table, spilling coffee. Enough! The vague memory shattered away. So you want to join us? Quint reached out a hand to her. Adie's Cano, witch guardian of the Lonely Mountain, he greeted, in a tone so sweet and grateful. I have heard much about you. Your attunement ritual significantly helped my efforts in a... He winked. Personal project. Matt pulled him away. Get to the point. He sighed. Look, I hate the company. You hate the company. He paused to collect his thoughts. Something that belongs to me coincidentally is being held at Ogland Bridge, he explained. Without me, you won't be able to disarm the Ether device. Thylum's eyes widened. You mean to say the Ether device is real? I had no clue what they were talking about. Indeed, the purple-eyed man, Quint Mognis, informed. And they already have the number of the king. Matt spoke what was on his mind. What's the Ether device? And who's this king? Thylum locked eyes with him, and then at me. Me and Aster have uncovered a facility where they were, methodically, looking for the true name of a dead god, one I now suspect to be the Ether King. He shuddered in fear. If they've built the Ether device, they may be able to draw away Ether to resurrect the Ether King. Quint nodded along. Indeed, it is being built, near completion now, at Ogland Bridge. You've seen it? Hades asked. Quint nodded. They are using the captive Alcyon's connection to the other side to, his voice was grave, fearful, to resurrect the Ether King under their control. My eyes widened as I realised what exactly this meant. The company sought to remove artifacts of dissonance and unauthorised magic from the world. This could only mean one thing. They're trying to take the Ether away, I realised, speaking aloud, to finally separate our world from the one beyond. Quint confirmed my answer. Anyone connected to the Ether would instantly die. He looked at the group. Aster, Hades, and even you, Thylum. Matt had no inherent connection. Your souls would be severed, taken away. Matt raised a hand. And how do you know this is true? I have glimpsed a future in which the Ether King takes away all that is powered by belief, he answered. There are millions on this plane with inherent magic, only kept dormant by disbelief. Hades sighed. He is right. In the old days, when we still believed there were many magicians, many connected, this situation is... Her voice faltered. Dire. Then you must follow me, he concluded. And with that, he left the shop, vanishing into the air as he passed the door. There was a moment of silence as we pondered the news. Thylum broke it. Let's do this, he finalised. Oh, he began. He didn't tell us the plan. He'll probably meet us there, I concluded. And it was done. From there, Anthem City, we crossed state lines soon and journeyed into Louisiana. We traded stories on the trip. My recent encounter with a whispering storm, my fight with some strange creature of stories. I revealed to them where I'd gotten my signature whalebone, and the corpse boats of the Landang Sea. Matt told us of his tales. He had reconnected with the Hunter Guild and netted some pretty big catches. A sunborn over in Brooklyn, a king beast in the sewers of Las Vegas. Great feats of strength and stories I only half believed. Thylum, who I had last fought with to recover company data, had brought the aforementioned data to a so-called rebel group of company workers, most working from the inside. His data converted others to his side, and they had held a heist, liberating captured cryptids back into the wild. Hades had continued to guard her mountain after my meeting with her, a story for another time, but she finally ventured beyond it, exploring the wider world at large, exercising great evils, and fighting for the natural world. And then, we were there. It was not frozen over as it had been before, now hot, sticky, air musty and buzzing with the omen of doom. Crows hawked above us, warning us of death. No harpies swarmed the air though, and it was oddly normal. We stopped in the middle of the forest, right outside the bridge of town. It's oddly empty, Matt noted. It should be absolutely swarming with them. Hades reached out into the ether, lines of light spiralling into the air. I feel them. Her eyes widened. She whispered to us. It's a trap. She stared straight across the bridge. We've already been spotted. They're hiding in town. I reached into the ether, but could not sense our enemies. I wasn't attuned, one with the brilliant world, yet, not like Hades. So I trusted her. They looked at me for advice. I had been the one who had summoned them to aid me. We spring the trap, fight our way in. Our strange advisor was nowhere to be found, and we had already been spotted. I raised myself up, and in a line we crossed the bridge, the rush of the river echoing beneath us, a river that had been frozen when I had been there before. I could sense them near, agents of the company, and yet, hidden in the air in front of us, rippled, and from the spell of veil emerged three agents. Commander Hydrangea, one spoke, gun raised at us. They sprung the trap! I looked at my allies. It was time to fight. Thylum struck first, hands drawing out from his pockets, spraying sand into the air. He crossed his fingers and produced a wave-like motion, daggers and daggers of sand, striking our enemies. One of them was struck, falling and retreating. The other two were quick to react, hands folding onto a piece of burning paper, shields of ether forming. Hades reached out and used her attunement, drawing the shields of ether away and into her fingers, and then reaching around and sending them back at them, spiraling bolts of energy striking one. The final soldier quickly stepped away, raised his gun and aimed it at us, only for Matt to shoot him, enchanted bullets stunning him. I felt a presence behind us as the familiar shattering, spiderweb fractals appeared in the air. "Let's go!" I shouted, already running across the bridge. Behind us, 2 agents stepped forth from the portal. We got across to earthen ground, and then I looked back, reached for a scroll and spoke the words. A great wall of earth struck up from the ground, delaying their advance. Thylum pressed his hands against the wall, and then pushed it down, severing the bridge, letting the metal crash into the earth. Hades reached into the other. "More are advancing!" I bit down on a chip of enchanted, burned wood, and swallowed, feeling fire burn my tongue. A pair of agents approached us, and I breathed out, engulfing them in godly flame. There were too many coming, so many even I could feel their presence. "Hades!" I shouted. "We need to! On it!" she finished, hands reaching into the sky. Great bolts of white cold ether surrounded us, and everything went oddly silent. "We're veiled!" A bubble of hidden ether surrounded us, the noise of the outside world quiet, muted. A team of 4 rounded the corner, but they could not see us. We were invisible. I reached and touched the bubble, checking its power. This won't last long. The team passed by us. I sighed in relief. We walked towards the centre of town now, doing our best not to make any noise and to avoid the paths of the soldiers, searching for us. We stickied our little explosives to things as we did, careful to place them in hidden corners. In the centre of town, where there had once been a fountain, now lay a tied-down, struggling Alcyon. It was smaller than I had remembered it, and great machines drained its life force. Our eyes followed the tubes and magically enchanted devices that were injected into the creature towards large vats that surrounded it, all glowing white with the cold energy of the world beyond. I used to think it was hot to the touch, though a quick reminder that ghosts cause cold spots reminded me that it could never be. We approached the closest one, and I felt it. It was cold, pure. "It's the other device," I murmured, fearful. The creature struggled. "We have to destroy it." Thylum folded his hands. "Vats are enchanted." Matt struck at it. The sigils appeared in the air. It was too heavily protected, and even working together, we would not be able to break the sigil. I sighted a squad approaching, and we slunk away. "Where's him?" Matt wondered. Quint, the strange man, had not yet appeared. I echoed his sentiment. And then I saw my nemesis. Canopy. He stood near the creature, studying it. 2 guards flanked him, and 2 more seemed to follow his orders, to remove for him one of the many canines of the creature. One of the soldiers we fought went up to him. He nodded and called for something. That's when Theo appeared, 2 company agents flanking him. He was brought to Canopy, who manhandled him, then raising a gun to his head. A megaphone was handed over, and he looked around. "Aster Mills!" he shouted, looking around, piercing the bubble. "Aster and company," he repeated. "I know you're amongst us, hidden. I have no quarrel with the rest of you. Not now. Hand over Aster and you may leave." We didn't move, standing still. Canopy ordered for something to be done, then spoke back into the megaphone. "I would rather not use our device here to find you," he warned. "So I give you this. Surrender Aster, or I." He clicked his pistol. "Kill her friend here." Hades gritted her teeth. "He means it." "I give you 10, he announced. His naivete face grew darker by the second. False mark banished. 9. I could not let this happen. 8. I would have to hope Quint would appear. 7. I slung my backpack off my shoulder. "Keep it safe, Matt." He nodded. I trusted him. A 6 echoed behind us. "If I die, you know who to give it to." 5. Matt frowned. "I won't let this happen." 4. Canopy was speeding up now, getting impatient. I found my Yago seed and slipped it under my tongue, ready to pierce it and vanish into the ether, if need be. I looked at them one more time, and hoped for the best. "Stop!" I screamed, leaving the bubble of ether. I ran to the centre, before being apprehended by 2 company agents. "I'm here." Canopy pushed Theo to the side, and he fell. "Smart choice." He beckoned for me to be brought forth. "Though your decision to walk right into this trap was rather unintelligent." He looked at me in puzzlement. "You had to have known that note was a trap, and yet you sprung it. Why?" "Maybe I just wanted to try," I guessed. "Before you take all ether away from the world." I prepared to bite down on the seed. "So you know about the device?" He paced around, thinking to himself. He turned to his people. "Find her collaborators. This must be some trick. It's all too easy." "My friends have nothing to do with this," I pleaded. "I convinced them to help me take back Oglen Bridge. I didn't think you'd use Theo against me." In hindsight, I should have seen it coming, really. He saw through me. "Kieran, Mitchell," he ordered, bringing 2 of his best to his side. "Join hands with me." And they did. Canopy turned back towards me. "Let us see who else has joined you, and what plans you have." Canopy's mind met my mind in the infinite ether. I raised my mental shield, but the combined forces of the 3 pierced through into my mind. I felt a 4th reach into my mind, one I did not entirely recognize, though the 3 probing my mind did not seem to notice. Canopy found what he was looking for. "Explosives!" he shouted. "They've planted And then there was a boom from where we entered, a great plume of fire reaching into the sky. And then another, and another. Canopy looked angrily at his captains. "Have Rainey's squad quell the flames." He stared at the vats of ether and the Alcyon. "Make sure that thing doesn't escape. We need it for the summoning." The one called Kieran nodded and ran off to do his bidding. I smiled meanly at Canopy. Well, I suppose that's it. I clamped down on the seed in my mouth and... nothing happened. I wasn't whisked away to safety. Canopy scoffed smugly. "Looking for this?" He opened his palm, and 4 seeds fell to the ground. Simple spell, really. I cursed in a language beyond the English alphabet. "Now," Canopy began, reaching back into my mind. "Thylum fugue. Interesting." He paused, and sort of mulled about it. "He's wanted for unauthorized magic, planning against the company, and the use of dissonant artifacts, as well as deserting the company." "He saw through your lies," I snapped. "You people indoctrinated him as a child." Canopy shook his head. "Weak-minded heretic," he snarled. "It may surprise you that I grew up with him as wards of the company." He stopped suddenly, as if to reminisce on distant dreams. "He does appreciate the good they did for us." This I had not known. Not exactly. "Why do you feel the need to take the strange and beautiful away? Is it—" I paused, thinking. "Only because you grew up in the company? Is that all you've ever known?" "Magic is dangerous," Canopy simply stated, sitting down, criss-crossed on the floor beside me. "It was only very recently the power of disbelief overtook much of the influence the other side had on our world, you know." There was a tense moment of silence. "The founders of my company saw that the unchecked proliferation of magic, this scourge from the alien world, caused those who were attuned to it to abuse its power, to terrorize the weak and enslave the unblessed. Those who could not wield this alien gift were left at the mercy of sorcery and witchcraft. Our world has exponentially grown in technology, equality, equity, since we abolished and wiped the memory of the dark age of magic before us." Another silence, an explosion barely muted. "Was it that world of uncertainty and terror our founders wanted to bequeath to the children of the future? A world where the ordinary man is dictated to the capricious whim of a select few, attuned individuals?" He scoff-laughed mockingly. "No, it was most certainly not. My actions tonight will finish what our founders began. My actions today will be remembered as a turning point in history to unhook the claws of the ether from the alien curse. My actions here will burn brighter than even the star spirits conjured by the strongest of the attuned." I remembered what Hades had said. Many were connected to the ether, quelled only by their disbelief. If you take away ether from this world, millions of the innocent will die. Canopy sighed and stood back up. "A small price to pay for the more orderly future," he murmured. "The Ether King will rise, under my control, and we will restore order to the world. No more curses, no more magic, no more unpredictable things. It is time enough." Our world's strange connection to the unknown region we named the other side was dangerous. But it was also beautiful, filled with marvel. My travels had me use the force of fantasy for good. never had taken control of someone for my benefit. The problem was not our connection to the beyond, but ourselves. How we use power, and to take away and kill all those powered by curiosity, by the hope of the beyond, would be cruel, devilish. Taking away it all will kill you too. Canopy simply shook his head. He probably had plans for that too, for him and the company. I want her taken to where we're holding the rest of... He paused. No. Chain her to one of the other varts. I want her to see order restored to the world. His assistant, Valaruz, nodded. Should she survive, or... Canopy nodded. I want to prove to her this world will become more peaceful. He looked me in the eye then, as if pitying me. I will miss this little debate of ours. A young woman with shiny blue hair appeared. We've caught the rest of them. What shall we do with them? Place them where the others are, Canopy ordered. No need to waste our bullets now. This device is nearly complete. Oh, and... And? She asked. Bring the one called Thylon Fugue to me. She nodded, and ran off to do his bidding. He waved a hand over to his people near me, and I was taken away, back to the Varts, to be chained, a witness to his plans.